Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Cornstar. Today is going to be a good day because we are going to continue to replace the roof on the big machine shed.
Breakfast cookie, because there's eggs that go into cookies, so therefore it's a breakfast cookie. Not ready for this.
Whoa, did you get new shoes?
My new work shoes.
No, my shoes are shot. I think Cooper had a late night last night. He's really tired. He keeps falling asleep on stuff. I just had some Oreo cookies, so if my teeth are black, that's why.
We're going to try to get this side done today.
I had a nail shoot out in my bink right in my head. I'm gonna run to our locals Casey's and pick up some pizza for dinner.
Lunchtime! Now if you ask me, this is OSHA approved. Ah, looks about right. Hey, we may have got a new helper today.
Don't jump on that! Oh, I almost went through. You almost went through, you did go through. Don't jump on that! Oh.
Not too bad my way. Not too.
You guys want to know something? Neighbor's in my way right now.
I was just standing here and I thought there was this black bear standing behind me, and I looked back and it was Brian, the beard. It threw me off. My thirst buds are starting to dry up and I gotta wet the little tonsils, so I'm gonna go to my water jug and get a drink out of the water jug, because what water jugs are for. Did you ever think how people did things before a water jug? You'd have to sit out here and wait for it to rain. You need some help there, Brian?
Yeah, you go.
Sometimes you want to get the footage. If somebody comes up the ladder and they fall, it's easier to run down and look down to them and say, hey, how was the fall?
Looks like y'all had a little bit of a storm.
You notice Brian's hat up there, it says best friends forever.
That's my best friend's hat, yep. You are inspiring my nephew.
That's good.
With that
He's still
mullet.
growing it?
He is.
Good.
Right now, Brian's back there. He's asking Daddy Cornstar, he says, what's some of your camera tricks? So he stopped down to kind of learn some stuff from me. All right, I better get back to work. I'm just sitting here looking up at the sky.
Bye, Justin.
Says we got to call it quits for the night because we're all wore out. Our bodies are starting to feel it, except for mine. And the way we look at it, like Justin, he needs to go home and spend time with his family and kids. And there's just gets to be a time in the day you need to shut her down. Woke up this morning and I don't know, it is cold out here. It's actually not that bad out, but it feels a little brisky. What's the temperature right now?
69 degrees.
Me and Cooper today, we're gonna be working on getting some of the grain stuff set up, pull out a couple augers, check them over.
Hey Neva, check this out. Woohoo! Thing is a monster.
Hey, it's Brandon from Champion Seed. It's been a while since we've seen you. Hey, where's your Cornstar apparel?
I know, I haven't been on the website yet.
Brandon's picking me up so that we can go look at the Champion field.
I think we're gonna see a mix of stuff. I think we're gonna see some down corn from the derecho, probably some drying up, kind of firing up corn from some of the drought we've had here the last couple weeks. It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
As Neva would say, vamonos.
What Cooper's doing, he's cleaning out one of our pits that we drive the semi over. When we built this some years ago, it really sounded like a great idea. They're tiled out to take the water away. Well, as you know, corn kind of becomes mushy and it plugs everything up. So now when we get big rains, it fills our pit full of water. Well, we're kind of hoping someday to redo some stuff, and this is one of the big projects we want to redo, but for this year we're gonna have to suffer through this again, but we're gonna make it work.
Well, we can say one thing, the Champion field does look better than some of the surrounding cornfields around. Brandon's gonna tell us what we're gonna do here because he's a professional. I'm just a guy that walks around with the camera.
So in a normal year, about this time, we'd come out, start doing some kernel counts, and we can get a rough estimate of about what that part of the field will yield. Here this year, we're going to obviously be seeing some variability with the hail that came through, the wind that blew corn over, and some of the drought conditions that a lot of Iowa's been seeing this year.
So in this particular champion field, we have two champion varieties. One's a 108-day variety, and the other one's a 103-day. The spot we're in right here is the 108-day. We're going to walk into the field just a little ways. Hold on, I'm getting attacked by corn here. Get out of an area that would have been compacted by all the grain carts and semis, and holy cow, look at that ear. It's a nice one. That's a lot drier than I thought.
So we got 37 kernels long by 16 around. And if you look here, we call this kind of yellower line the milk line, and it starts at the top of the kernel, and as the corn matures and dries down, that milk line regresses to nothing. And then here at the bottom of the kernel, we'll have a little bit of a black line in there. We call that black layer. And that's when the crop is physiologically mature, which means harvest is basically now just a matter of how that corn dries down and at what moisture the farmer is comfortable with harvesting at. So I'd say here in probably another 7 days, this corn would probably be right at black layer.
You know, I got bad news, Brandon. We walked out to the middle of the field and my camera battery's about dead. I'll be back.
Doesn't seem like things want to go together like last year. We talked about taking some pictures, but we forgot. Get some of them professional shots here. We're gonna get them right. All right, there we go. Daddy Cornstar, you're a professional at doing these videos. All right, we're gonna go with that.
Worst design to mankind.
What we're trying to do, this tube here, we're trying to get into that shiny thing there. Last year it worked, this year it may not.
So this year for us, crop-wise, has been kind of all over the place. We were really cold at the beginning of the spring, and then we got super wet, and then at the end of May, we didn't get rain for 6 weeks, so it was the middle of July before we got any rain. Then we got smoked with 120-mile-an-hour winds. And then a week after that, we get hit with another 60-mile-an-hour storm with hail. The corn has definitely taken a beating. All the stalks that are still standing, they have shredded leaves like this. And honestly, there's a lot of stalks that are snapped off, like these ones. Ah, this corn is difficult to walk through. Honestly, when we drive by fields on the road, they don't look half horrible from the road, but getting in here, this looks a lot worse than I kind of anticipated. There's a lot of corn that's laid over. We can harvest through corn like this because the snoots of the corn head actually go under this, but we could be possibly running into some corn quality issues. Since some of this is sitting on the ground, that means some of those kernels could rot or get moldy, and when we have the corn head low to pick this stuff up, we're going to be picking up some of that stuff. So this could be a pretty interesting harvest.
I kind of want to inspect the difference between what we'd call a root lodged corn. It's leaning. It pulled up the base of the roots of the plant. We would call this stalk lodging, where it bent the stalk, but it's still attached. And then we have a few plants that are still standing fairly well. And I kind of want to compare the different ear size and ear quality as Cole was describing.
Hold on, before I get started, do you have a yield prediction?
This year's going to be pretty tough to predict the yield. I know we're not going to have the high yields we had last year, but I think we still might make 200 on this.
So here's an example of an ear of corn that was laying on the ground. We can already see a little mold that started on the tip of it here. The rest of it looks pretty good, but this is just going to continue to spread as time goes on.
We definitely have 3 different sizes of ears coming from root lodge, stalk lodge, and still standing. So the variability, even with our first sample of 3 plants, is pretty evident. A lot of times when there's an issue in a field, it tends not to be one specific thing, but kind of a combination. You know, having the biggest, healthiest ear still standing tells me that that plant was a little bit healthier, maybe emerged out of the soil a little bit sooner than these guys did, and because of that was able to get to the nutrients a little faster and produce a stronger, healthier plant. In a year like we've had here in 2020 with drier conditions, pretty severe drought in western Iowa and parts of central Iowa, what happens is that plant gets starved for water as well as the nutrients that move into the plant through the roots. So what will happen is that corn plant will cannibalize the stalk a little bit, and we'll take those nutrients from lower and bring them higher and put them onto the ear to keep producing kernels. What that does, when you have a strong wind, especially a derecho come through, that's when we can see some of this stalk lodging happen.
To make anything to fix that?
We could go through with popsicle sticks next to every single corn plant to help them stand back up.
This kind of stinks. So this is what the 108-day corn's looking like. We're gonna meander to the other side of the field and see what the 103-day looks like.
Well, sounds like we had a little change in plans. Our good friend Zach has a jackhammer on on a skid loader. We're gonna try to see if we can take a wall out and stuff so we can get our augers in there a little different. So we're thinking about bringing our dryer around now, trying to get it set up in the spot. Just trying to keep things moving today. I gotta see where Cooper's going. He's taking me on a goose road.
So kind of from our initial view of the 103 day, this does look to be standing better than the 108 day. It's definitely leaned over more, but it's not snapped off. I actually haven't seen a single one snapped yet.
Some years, one hybrid might be better given the growing season and the circumstances, and the next year, those same two hybrids compared against each other can be completely different. Typically, our 108 day is a really good standing hybrid, but that doesn't mean that a tornado or inland hurricane can't find its weakness. So this one's 42 by 18.
So what Brandon means by 42 long and 18 around is he's counting the number of kernels tall, and then he's counting them around. And what we can do with those two numbers is we can multiply them together, then multiply that by the population of the field, and then we can use a little bit of math with a couple other numbers, and then we can get kind of a rough idea of what the field's gonna yield. So if the entire field yielded like the ear Brandon just pulled, this field would yield 252 bushels to the acre.
But as Cole said, every ear throughout the entire field would have to be that exact same size, and we know that the entire field isn't going to be the same for moisture, for fertility. So that's where we see a lot of fluctuations that can change the average yield across the field.
I don't remember walking this far in this field. Freedom! You ready to go look at some soybeans?
I think it's going to be a little easier to walk through the bean field today.
Did you hurdle in high school?
So as we've mentioned multiple times now, we've been pretty dry here through July and August, and we can kind of see that in the soybeans. As you look at what we would call the upper part of the canopy, the leaves stayed a lot smaller and just didn't have the moisture to be able to put on full leaves and kind of their full vegetative potential.
This is what Brandon means. We got bigger leaves down here, but then as we get towards the top of the plant, then we just got these little linky dinky guys. These beans are actually starting to change now, so that means probably in about 3 weeks here, we'll be in here harvesting these.
So as I'm looking at the bean plants, counting the pods, there's about 50 to 60 pods per plant, and then we look for the individual beans. Most bean pods will have 3 beans per pod. Occasionally we'll see one with maybe 2, like up here. In the really good growing conditions, we might even see 4 beans per pod, and that just kind of tells us their yield potential. And then we're also looking for what we would call their pod fill, or how big the beans get within the pod, which translates to weight, and weight translates to bushels.
A bushel of soybean weighs 60 pounds, right?
Correct. A bushel of beans is 60 pounds per bushel, and a bushel of corn is 56 pounds per bushel.
So the heavier our crops are, the better. So these beans are a little bit further ahead than these ones. You can see these are still pretty green, and these are like lima beans right now. They're really soft. Then as these start to dry down even more, they'll actually retain more of a round shape, and they'll be about half this size.
I think we can pretty confidently say we'll have some 55 bushel beans here.
Well, how you doing, buddy? This is Sunday, and this is Taco. Okay, I know one of you is Sunday, and I know the other one's name is not Taco, but I'm calling you Taco. Man, you got some big old eyeballs. Man, I didn't think he was ever gonna leave. It's kind of a little bit of a bummer for the champion plot, because we're not really gonna get a true feel for how it did, because it got smacked with 120-mile-an-hour winds. But at least we get to see how it holds up to some pretty adverse weather. If anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about Champion Seed, I'll include the link to their website in the description. This is our second year planting Champion Seed, and we've been really impressed. Hey guys, just wanted to remind you, we do have merch now, so if you want to order some, you can order it through the link in the description. And I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and remember, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. All right guys, we'll see you in the next one.